Everything happens for a reason. Some you know, some you wish you would know. Some just happens. Life isn't happening to you. Indeed, life is responding to you in every action by means of word, by means of what you see and believe. Life is your call. Every area of your life is your call. You are the creator of your own life. You are the writer of your life story. You are the director of your life movie. You decide what your life should be like and what you want to give it out. And that's exactly what I'm going to do, giving you every possible reason to be motivated, to be surprised, to wonder and understand, leverage your life a little more with who joins us here. Ladies and gentlemen, and each one of you out there, my name is Mithun Upadhyay, and I'm delighted to welcome you to yet another episode of The Economic Times Cutting Chai Stories, brought to you by ETH. For life, a little more. So, who's joining us today? Well, he is somebody who's come from the city of Jamnagar in the state of Gujarat and is heading digital transformation and IT for Fourth Partner Energy Private Limited, India's leading solar energy producer. Well, he has about 12 years of very diverse work experience. After his undergraduation in mechatronics engineering, his professional career started with about 3 years in the construction equipment industry in the role of sales and dealer management. Post which he had started and pursued his venture for 3 years, which provided solutions of remotely monitor the health and control construction equipment machines. For the past 6 years, he has been working with his current company, Fourth Partner Energy, in the solar industry in the roles of product management, change management, and a digital transformation. Now, that is what we are about to witness. The future of tomorrow, the solar. His motto to life is he's a problem solver who understands what the user really needs, not what he wants or she wants, not what he or she want him to want. It's the need of the hour that he brings in. Very happy, delighted to welcome here. And the cutting chat story is going to be head of digital transformation at Fourth Partner Energy Private Limited, Mr. Siddharth Gorecha with us. Siddharth, hi, welcome to Cutting Chat Stories.
Hi, hi, Mithun. Thank you for the lovely introduction, and thanks Economic Times for this amazing opportunity.
So, future of solar and solar, that's the whole thing everybody's moving towards. So, I wanna first start with a question, which is about your wide range of experience and expertise. Solar is the future. Your take on that?
It is definitely the future. I mean, uh, the industry is growing really rapidly in India and the world over. I mean, you are creating green energy. It's there across the news, right? So there is a lot of there are these issues of global warming, climate change, right? So how do you address them? Solar is one of the best and one of the most economical ways to address all of those issues. Solar is the future. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely. With that happy note of future is solar, let's get into your life. And let's breeze back to time and again about your early days. Let's talk about you. Your being you, the young Siddharth. And how was it back in the days when you were a small little kid and about your parents, your siblings, and friends in school?
Sure. So you covered a lot of that in my introduction, but again, I'd like to just mention. I come from a city called Jamnagar, right, in the state of Gujarat. Jamnagar has been a pretty unknown city until the last 20 years when Reliance opened the world's largest refinery over here. So at least, now people have heard about the name. Otherwise, earlier I had to explain to everyone, Jamnagar is in this corner of Gujarat, it's over here, this, that. So born and brought up in Jamnagar, did my early schooling over here. I come from a family of business and engineers.
Oh,
right? So
wow.
my father has diplomas in electrical and mechanical. My elder brother is a computers engineer. He just did his masters in the US. My younger brother has also done his masters in mechanical engineering, right? So growing up in this environment, right? So I was always influenced by all of these factors, right? Number one, primary business, right? So whatever you do, it has to make financial sense, right? So somehow you just imbibe all of this. Being surrounded by my father, right? So electrical engineer, mechanical. I used to go to his factory, right? When I was young, and work on the machines. We used to make machine parts, right? So I could work on machines by the age of what 11, 12,
Wow.
right? And and then my elder brother, right? So he pursued his computers, so that had an influence on me. Even when he was really young, we had a computer at our home. So I mean, it at that point of time, right? So around what 25 years back, it was a luxury to have a computer at home, correct?
Yes,
And
agree.
we were lucky enough to have that, right? So we used to work on that, develop some sort of animation, write some sort of code, and I learned a lot of this from my elder brother. So I was influenced by all of these factors, right? And that's why I pursued my undergraduation in mechatronics, right? Uh, which is a combination of mechanical, electrical, electronics, and computers, right? So I was
True.
influenced by all of these factors. I would just like to point out that back in the day, right, admissions in college used to happen based on merit, right?
Right.
So I got decent enough marks in my 12th boards. I was eligible for one of the better colleges, but because I just wanted to pursue this, right, I was interested in all of these fields. So I chose the mechatronics engineering, which was slightly lower rank, right? Um, Back to my schooling, right? So
I just like the thought, you were talking about how you chose the subject and then it just went blank. Oh my God. People choose the higher when you get a higher point, but I had to go down. And then you went blank for a second. So yes, back to your school.
so
Yes.
so that's part of my upbringing, right? So my parents were always like, pursue whatever you want to do, right? Just
Right.
don't follow the society that okay, if this is the number one college, you have to get admission over there. It's not that. Do whatever you want, do whatever you like, then you'll succeed. I mean, succeed is a by success in
Absolutely.
your life is a byproduct, right?
True.
So, anyways, back to my schooling, right? So, most of my schooling has been in Jamnagar, right? But then for a stint of 4 years, I was in a boarding school in the city of Panchgini in Maharashtra. Learned a lot over there, right? So when someone goes to a boarding school, right, you become independent, right?
True.
So me and my brothers, we were always very, we grew up in a very protected environment, right? So I, I, I remember I was a very shy kid, right? I could not talk easily to strangers, right? So I used to get uncomfortable in social situations. So that is where my boarding school experience helped. Right? You don't have any option. You have to in a boarding school, right? So you are responsible for yourself, right? From making your bed, right, to ensuring you get good grades in your classes. And so I have this debate with my friends, right? So whether to send your kids to a boarding school or not, right? So what I feel the best thing that I learned from a boarding school is you put yourself out of your comfort zone, right? So just one example about this, putting yourself out of your comfort zone is during my schooling in Jamnagar, right? No doubt it was an English medium school, but people, the students, the teachers, they never used to talk in English.
True.
So,
True.
so spoken English, I was not, my spoken English was not good. I could not talk to people in English, right? I could read, I could understand, I could not speak to them. So, so when I joined the boarding school, the culture was everyone talks in English, like even your friends, right?
Right.
You even dream in English,
True.
right?
True.
So it was uncomfortable. In a span of 2 months, I learned it, right? So put yourself out of your comfort zone. You will definitely learn something new out of
That's so well said. I really like the thought you said. You know what? Getting out of comfort zone gets you going, no matter what. It will take time, but it gets you going. And like you said, you know what, earlier in your life, a family with business professionals and engineers, a good combination. And then early at the age of 11, you could start, repairing things and open things out, which is a very interesting thing. So I totally get a feel that, you know what, early days you were really mentored by your dad. You were looking at your dad, and dad was mentoring you, which comes out from what you spoke a while back. So I'm gonna just jump into the next one, segment of college, where you joined college and you did not take the selected course that people take of, electricals, computer science. You took something that combines all that together. So I'm not going to talk about the education bit in terms of what you achieved, which, because the result is right here. I'm going to talk about the fact, the college days, how much of fun, your best friend in college days, that one memory that still makes you laugh, a trip that makes you laugh, a bike ride or a trip to go. I don't know what is it. You tell me. So one of those moments I would love to know.
The fun part of college. Huh?
Absolutely.
Everyone, even you would agree, right? Everyone
I
agrees.
agree.
College is their best part of their life, right? So
I agree.
you make friends for life, right? Uh, but so the fun part, right? So I remember, obviously I'm not encouraging this sort of behavior, but I remember bunking classes, right? Bunking classes, late night outs, all of that. So that's the fun part, right? That's about
What
it. Yeah.
one incident, Siddharth, which you still remember, like, you missed something with your friend, or you did something which is like still makes you laugh. Maybe it didn't make you laugh then, but today when you think about it, it still makes you laugh. I want to talk about that.
So to be honest, Mithun, the incident that's coming on my mind right now, I don't think I can speak that on this interview, right? But uh, so whenever we friends get together, right? So we discuss this thing. So we were so from the first day itself, right? So we become a group of what, 8, 10 people, all of us friends. Uh, we got kicked out of our hostel every year, right? So
That's
every year we had to find a new hostel,
that's a
right?
good start.
Mithun, I don't think I can talk about the things.
Okay, I'm not gonna get you uncomfortable. Maybe I can take this offline sometime later with you,
Sure, sure,
because this is very interesting. I like how every year you got kicked out of college, from hostel. That is a very interesting piece of conversation. But let's just breeze away from this and get into the next one. So, how was college? How was spending time with friends, being away from family, the whole thing? Tell me about that.
sure. So the good parts of college, right? The things that we can talk about is uh, I made sure I took part in all sorts of competitions, even cultural events, right? So I don't think I'm a good dancer, right? I don't think I'm a good singer. Still, I made sure, what's the harm in trying it out, right? Worst
Absolutely.
case, what people would laugh at you and you get over it. People forget it. So I made sure I took part in all of these cultural events, and also, so all these colleges, they have all these robotic competitions and all of that, right? So I took as much as I could, right? Take part in different sort of competitions, build robots, right? So we won quite a few, awards also. Talk to your professors, right? You know, don't be the aloof kid, right? Who stays alone in his own corner. Talk
Yeah.
to people, right? Be
Right.
social. You will definitely learn something out of, your professors, your friends, your classmates.
I agree. I agree. I like you mentioned, try everything. I mean, I did the same thing back in college, from singing to dancing. And even if people laugh, then we created a new profession altogether called stand-up comedy. So we were like, okay, you know what, there's so much more we can do about people laughing at you as well. So I want to skip this up and go into professional career of yours. You had instinct in the company for 3 years, and then you went on to start something on your own. So how has the professional life evolved over time from the first job till today?
Sure. So before I talk about the first job, right? This is something that I'm proud of, right? So how I got my first job. I just 2 minutes. I want to talk about that, right?
Yeah.
There is also a message behind that for anyone who's watching this interview. Uh, so a company, it's campus placements, right? So companies approach the placement cell that we want to recruit students. So there's this one particular company, my first company, that is Tata Hitachi Construction Equipment. Uh, they had called, uh, just the top five rankers for the interview, right?
Okay.
Um, my rank in college in my class was what, around 16th or 17th, right?
In your batch.
In my batch, in my batch.
Right. Right.
Uh, but when I read about the company, what kind of work that they do, right? So I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. I want to join this company. So, and the interview, so my college was in Gujarat, right, in a city called Vallabh It's near
Right.
Ahmedabad. The interview was in Mumbai, right, and the company was paying for the to and fro fare for the
Wow.
top five people, right, that they were calling for the interview. So I was like, you know, I decided that I'm gonna go, even if they. So first I tried talking to them, right? Even though I'm not the top five rank, can I come and attend the interview? No one responded. So I'm like, let's give it a try. What's the harm again in trying, right? So I booked my tickets, went to Mumbai along with those top five rankers. Uh, Went over there. Those guys initially. So when I told them that, okay, I came over here, I want to give the interview. If you're not okay with it, like it's okay. I'll go back. I'll see Mumbai for a day. Go back to
Okay.
Gujarat. So they were hesitant at first, but when I prodded a bit, they talked to their head HR and they're like, okay, no problem. Since you did this, why not? Give it a
Yeah.
shot. Give them.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening was, so out of the six of us, right, top five rank is me, the 16th rank, I ended up getting selected. I was the only one who ended up getting selected for that company, right? No one else got selected. So that's, I still remember that's one of my best moments, right? Uh, I was nowhere in the race for that job. Ended up getting selecting. Ended up getting selected. So the what I'd like to again tell anyone who's watching this interview is there is absolutely no harm in trying. Try it out, right? Worst case, people will reject you. They're like, no, come back. It's okay. Keep on trying. You'll get your first. So okay, all right. So now I got my first job. Initially, what I thought was I'd join the design department of this company, right?
Okay.
Because that is what I had studied: mechatronics, electronics, computers, mech- uh, mechanical, everything. I'll be a good asset for the design team of that company. I went to Jamshedpur for, they have the 6 month training. Ended up selecting sales instead of design, right? Because I had this idea that I always want to start my business at some point of time. It would be better for me if I get some sort of training on sales, like how to sell stuff.
True.
Ended up taking sales, did that for 3 years. Uh, Again, so they transferred me to Gujarat, did sales, dealer management, all of that for 3 years. Then I uh, quit the job, right? Started my business venture. The business was around providing remote monitoring solutions to construction equipment machinery owners, right? So the idea for this came from my previous job, right? I
Uh,
used to sell these machines.
right.
My customers used to always ask me, is there such a product available, right? Because the typical owner of the machine, he'd have 10, 15 such machines. He'd never be around the machines, right?
True.
He'd be just dependent on the operators of these machines for the daily feedback. How many, hours the machine ran, whatever, how much diesel was consumed, all of that. So quit the job, developed a product, did all of that for 3 years, right? Unfortunately, the business never went profitable. Had to shut shop, um, and then joined my current company, which is Ford Motor.
That's been the evolution. But I like how you mentioned about the first job, and very well said. That you know what, if you do not get a go, try. There is no harm in trying. Before you say I can't, you should always say I try. And you did that out of your comfort. You did that. You left Jamnagar. You went to Mumbai. So what if you don't get it? You still managed to happen. But look at the other side of the coin. You just didn't get the job. The others five don't even get a try in it. And then you moved to Jamshedpur on the same thing, got back, and then you open something of your own, the shut shop, and then look at that experience is always giving you. And today I'm sure the balance of where you work, the balance of what you did on your own is coming in a picture of what you're doing currently, right, Siddharth?
Yep, yep, yep.
Well, that's brilliant. So let me ask you, Jamshedpur, which firm was this in Jamshedpur, and how was your days in Jamshedpur?
It was just a 6 month stint. So the company was Tata Hitachi. It's a joint venture between what Tata Motors and Hitachi Construction Equipment Machinery, with Japan-based company. So they have this program. Whoever joins this company, it's a GET program, right? So they train you for 6 months in all of the departments, be it
Right.
sales or design or production, right, or service. And then, based on how you rank within the batch, that's GET batch, you get to select whichever department you want to join, right? Jamshedpur was fun. I mean, really nice town, quiet town. I would not recommend it for youngsters. It's a bit too quiet. I mean, youngsters would, I would say, love to party a bit, right? But once you're a bit older, maybe you or me, now is a good time to shift to
Shift to
Jamshedpur.
Jamshedpur. So you were staying in Vishnupur or where were you placed? Vishnupur?
No, no, not Bistupur. Uh, the Tata Motors colony, right? I forgot the name
Temple
of the.
Colony.
It's been what 12 years. 12 Telco colony. So there's this
Oh,
engineers hall, the
correct,
hostel. That's
correct.
it.
Wonderful. So you had a good stint in Jamshedpur as a 6 months. That's a very good thing. Tata Hitachi, now that is a very good connection. I'll talk to you about that later because my dad still works with Tata Hitachi.
Yeah.
He
Oh
is
wow.
he's a mechanical engineer at Tata Hitachi. He handles Karnataka for them. And yes, he's been there from day one. And I know in and out of Tata Hitachi. That's why I asked you. And I
What
was
a
born in
wonderful,
Jamshedpur. So
what a wonderful surprise.
that's the connection.
We can connect after the interview. I mean, most likely I should know your father.
Yes, so that's the whole connection altogether. Let's get into this now. I want to ask you about your leadership traits. Now, how is a leadership trait ventured out, and how do you see leaders today should be compared to how they were?
Sure. So to be a good leader, right? There's no handbook around that, right?
Yeah,
You read
yeah,
something, you learn 5 things, and you end up being a good leader. Everyone learns from their own experience. What what I have learned, right? To be a good leader, first and foremost, you have to be a good person, right? Again, so to be a good person, that's still a very broad, suggestion or gyan, right? That I would say. But I would say try to be the kind of leader, right? Try to be the kind of manager that you would want your manager to be with you,
right, right,
right? And again, this is easier said than done, right? Because what I've seen, right, in my career of 12 years is uh, consciously or unconsciously, you end up uh, absorbing the traits of your manager, right? So that's what I've seen, right? If your manager is good, right? Let's say if I'm analyzing some third person, right? If his manager is good, most likely that person is going to be a good manager, right?
I agree,
If
I
his
agree.
manager is somewhat bad, right? I mean, so people can have different definitions of being a bad manager, but if there is something that you don't like about his manager, that person will most likely be that sort of a person, right?
Right,
So I've had a lot of debates around this, right? So with my peers and all of that. So one thing that I've noticed, right, is uh, if you end up getting a bad manager, right, it's tough for you to get out of that cycle, right? So a lot of research has been done. So for this, I'd like to give an example. A lot of research has been done around bullying that happens in school and
true,
college, right?
true.
So a bully will be a person who has most likely been bullied before, right? So you would not expect that to happen, right? If someone has been bullied, you would say, okay, yeah, you went through this, right? So don't be the sort of a person to your juniors. But
Right.
that does not happen, right? Research statistics say if someone has been bullied, he will end up being a bully, right?
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
tough to get out
eventually.
of that cycle. Still, so just be aware, try to be a good person, right? Listen to your team, right? Use empathy, right? So what I mean by empathy is try to stand in the shoes of your team members, right? So
Right,
that does not mean you give a lot of leeway to them. Just try to understand things from their perspective, hear them out, right?
correct.
And third, most importantly, right, to be a good leader, Challenge your team, right, beyond their abilities as defined by the current job description or as defined by the resume, right? Give them tough projects, right? Projects about which they don't have any idea about, right?
True.
So even if the employee says, boss, I cannot do this, right? I tell them what's the harm, learn, Google, do some research, talk to people, right? And when they end up delivering on that project, right, more than you, that employee would be the most happiest, that okay, I did something. It boosts his
Right.
morale, it boosts his confidence. That person becomes your next in line person, right? You're grooming that person to be a good leader for future.
Right.
That's a, yeah.
Well, that answer kind of answered my three questions I had in mind about the traits and
Ah,
behavior, and that also, your answer also talks from experience, which you kind of spoke about. But I like you highlighted this one point. If your manager or boss is being someone that's bullying you and you get stuck in the cycle, it's very, very tough. Even if you leave that manager, it's tough to get out of the cycle. So you need to find your traits to handle this. Very important. So all our viewers who are watching us, it's a very important trait to manage. And the smart way to get out of it, not a ruder way. And you also mentioned about the word empathy, then sympathy, which indeed helps people to have a perfect balance in life as well as in work. So I'm going to get to this last segment of it, Siddharth. It was a very interesting segment where I ask you things on straightforward, one word answer, one line answers. So what are your hobbies like? What do you like doing? Apart from reading
I
these
like.
books that you have behind you.
So I used to read a lot, right? So nowadays my job does not permit me that I don't do not get the time to read that much. I've been on this one book, Laws of Human Nature, Robert Greene's. It's been 1 month, right? I've not turned a page, but still I do read sometimes whenever I get the time. But as for my hobbies, right? So I like to build things with my hands, right?
Wow.
I would say I'm a decent carpenter. I can build some sort of furniture. I I try to all the home improvement projects, right? For example, we've got a garden over here, so I built an automated garden watering system,
Oh
right?
wow.
Let's say some interior designing has to be done, right? You're redoing your room. Instead of hiring an interior designer, I'd be like, okay, why not? I'll design it myself.
Correct.
So these are the sort of hobbies that I have, right? So I try to keep myself
That's
occupied.
that's very interesting. You know what? If you're in USA or Canada, you eventually have to become the one who can be a carpenter,
DIYer,
gardener,
yes.
anything. You got to do all the trades in order to save cost and learn the art. And it's no harm. Even I do the same thing. It's very interesting to be a part of it. So my question is, the back part of what you see, the bookshelf, is done by you?
No, so I cannot take credit for this. It's the family library. I would
Oh
say
wow.
just three or four of these books would be mine. My dad reads a lot. Most of the books are his.
Oh, that's interesting. I can see one book of Archer as well, if I can probably see it. All right, perfect. So one last question, and then we get into a very interesting segment. We have our partner who will join us. Next segment is about work and life balance. You just mentioned a while back that you don't get time to read a book. You're reading a book that you have started reading, but you haven't turned a page for the last 1 month. So how do you balance your life?
Yeah. So this is one topic, right? Work-life balance. I sort of struggle with that. Right. I'm trying to improve on that. So at least what my learning has been is I was the sort of person who once gets involved in a project, I would think about that project. That project would become my life 24/7. Right.
Right.
So even in the evening, even when I'm not in the office, right, I'd be thinking about that project. But let's say when the project is over, right? So there'll be a very peak in my productivity because I'm fully engrossed in that project. But once it is over, right? Because it's you get tired, right? So when you're thinking about something 24/7, you get tired about that. Your mind gets exhausted. So then I take a few weeks where I'd be somewhat unproductive, right? I'd be like, okay, I don't want to do anything. Just try to do the most basic sort of work, right? So, so that is where I learned the importance of work-life balance, right? As
Oh,
you
wow.
grow in your career, as you become a manager, right? Consistency is more important. You have to perform on a daily basis, right? This sort of behavior that I had, right? So I have a definition for such sort of behavior. These are called wartime managers, right? When there
Right.
is a big problem, there is overnight something happened, you put such sort of people over there, right? So they perform really well. But if you want to set good culture in the organization, you want your team to consistently perform. You yourself as a manager have to consistently perform.
Right.
The only way to do that is you have to relax, right? So that's why it's very important to have a good work-life balance, right? I had a chat about this with the director of my current company, right? So even he's like, it's very important. Get some sort of hobbies, pursue some sort of sports, right? Be strict with your deadlines, with your personal deadlines, office deadlines, right? 6:30 work is over, it's over.
Yeah.
Unless obviously it's some sort of an emergency, which is fine. But you should have a good work-life balance. And the way about it is get some sort of hobbies, pursue some sort of sports, something.
Very important. I totally agree with you. In order to have a perfect life balance, I think having a hobby is very important. Sports, from badminton to anything which is feasible for you, keeps you going, and
And
hard
you have to push that, right? Because again, this is very, again, easily said, right? Do something, go for a daily jog, right? I don't know if you face struggles with that. I do. I mean, I'll do it for 1 month, daily jogging, running, but then it'll be like, it's too much, another 1 month, nothing, right? So you have to push yourself. It should be on your
time.
priority that, nay, I want to balance my work and
A perfect balance is required. So, running, or, for that matter, yoga you do, or pranayama you do, or you play badminton, you go for a jog, or you go for a run, or sprint yourself. It has to be well balanced in order. And not, I think, what, you don't have to push every single day. You can always push alternate days in order to create a balance. But I want to highlight what you mentioned a while back, when you get a project, how you deeply kind of get into it. Uh, that is called learning. And then in order to, when your work is done, then you need to unlearn the process, and then become who you are, spend your time. So I think learning and unlearning is a pattern that also gives you a good work life balance, as I read somewhere. With that thought, I think that's very interesting to know you. I wish we had more time to talk about more in general, and uncensored conversation off about the college and why you got kicked out of your college hostel 4 times. And that will take some other day for sure. But for now, what we have is we have a very interesting gentleman joining us right now, a partner who also has a question to ask you. But before he asks question, I will have questions that I want to ask the two of you together. So I'm very happy to welcome among us right now somebody who's I think has been the most happiest person with me on Cutting Chai Story, and I love having him on here. So I'm very, very happy to welcome this person right now as he joins us, Mr. Aditya Agrawal, Head of Enterprise for Lenovo India, and he's here with us right now. Hello, Aditya. Welcome again to Cutting Chai Stories.
Thank you, Metin. Looking forward.
Aditya, I'm sure even you had the same question. No, 4 times from the hostel, Siddharth was out of the college. Now
within you need to forget that.
Let's forget that. We'll cover it later.
So I have a common question. I'm going to start with Aditya this time. Aditya, what are the challenges faced by the industry in the year 21? There are so many of them, but if you can highlight one of them, and as part of innovation that can draw these challenges into and help people, what are that the country and industry is prepared for in the coming days?
So, I'll split these challenges into two: the personal and the people factor and the technology factor, because I am representing technology, so I have to talk about it. But see, on the people factor, it's not a new stuff. COVID is the biggest challenge we have faced, and with that, it's been 2 years now almost, right? And how do we, the mental health part? How do we still make work from home work? Because it's been we have seen times when offices started opening and went back, right? So how do you keep that whole motivation and everything alive? Now on the technology front, I think the biggest tech challenge we have is that how do we make this whole hybrid thing work, which is now people are used to working from anywhere. It's not working from office or working from home. People want to work from coffee shops, from chai shops, to homes, to offices, or somewhere in between. So how do we make that work? Because it brings unique challenges of security, mobility, and security is a big one today, because with you not being behind that corporate network, right? It does bring some unique challenges. So I would say that these are the key challenges. Of course, there is innovation, a lot of innovation happening on healthcare, on devices, and IoT and everything. But those are more like opportunities, right? But challenges wise, I'll say these are the ones.
I totally agree with you. In fact, I'm so happy you kind of highlighted this, that when you're in the office campus, things are secured. And when you step out to work from home or a coffee shop or from a holiday, how you tapping the information being exchanged on a internet? That is a big question, and I'm so happy you mentioned that. Siddharth, I have the same question to you as well. Now I want to talk about the challenges, because we have seen so many challenges, and I'll kind of highlight that for us from a tech point of view. But from a point of view of solution and innovation, where do you see 22, 23 coming years, that maybe the industry is ready for it and to fight out these challenges that appeared in last year?
Sure. So that's my job, right? So I'm the head of digital transformation in this company. Uh, the biggest challenge is how do you make sure, so everyone's working remotely, right? And this is going to stay. Work from home, working remotely is going to stay. It's become the trend now, right?
Right.
So you have to, obviously, from the data security side, you need to make sure your networks are secure, right? How do you do that? We face so many issues on a daily basis. Right?
True.
Secondly, on the employee productivity side, right? So people don't end up meeting face to face a lot, right? So how do you bring that sort of a culture? There are great many benefits when two people sit face to face talking about resolve whatever issues. That's not happening right now. People are still not comfortable switching on the cameras on a Zoom call or whatever meeting, right? So that touch is going away, right? So how do you make sure people still interact as much, right? Um, how do you make sure just because people are not face to face, some problem does not get resolved, right? So these are the daily operational challenges. Third and the most important thing is, so that's one of my projects right now, right? So I need to make sure every employee has access to the company systems, right? So be it ERP or obviously emails, and also there are mobile apps now, but at least your company systems, right? It has to be accessible through their mobile phones, not even their
Right.
laptop, right?
Right.
It has to
Right.
be on the fingertips. So how do you go about that? So it's not that, there are ready-made solutions available. A lot of research has to happen. You need to go through the cycles of testing, pilot runs. So these are not easy decisions. And you are talking about not just buying a new software or solution and just implementing. You're talking about changing the culture of the organization.
True. True.
So yeah, these are the immediate challenges that we are facing as of now, and they are going to persist for the next one.
I like how well balanced your answer is in with Aditya, and I think it's going to be a very interesting conversation going ahead as you both knock together for a question answer. Thank you so much for joining us here at Cutting Chat Stories. Very interesting to talk to you and share your life from your days in Jamnagar to days in hostel to days in college and work and Jamshedpur and much more. And we look forward to much more for now. I wish you luck and keep the future secure.